Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, as we continue to celebrate Ireland's most successful young entrepreneurs, my first guest this morning is one of the youngest entrepreneurs that has ever featured on Business Matters. At just 17 years of age, Liam Fuller is building a Buy with Friends app called CartShare, which will be going live on Shopify in February. Liam joins us now to discuss how group buying trends in China have inspired the development of CartShare. Liam, when did you first realise that you wanted to become an entrepreneur?
Probably when I was around 8 years old, I would trade Pokemon cards down with kids in my street, basically. I'd grab some Pokemon cards, I'd find another kid on my street who has one more that's a bit more valuable than the one I had, trade my card for theirs, and then go off and sell it on my mum's eBay account. You know, when I was around 12, I started like this little business in I think 6th class where I was trying to sell like these duct tape wallets to other kids in my class. And then from there, I kind of got into the more tech side and more recently pursuing software that I sell to e-commerce stores.
And while CartShare wasn't your first Shopify app, it was this experience that helped you to identify the problem that CartShare would attempt to solve.
When I was younger, I started to understand, when I was targeting problems specifically, I started to understand how consumers behave a little bit. And then over the last few years, I've kind of gotten really interested in e-commerce. When COVID hit, I started a few e-commerce stores. They failed really, really bad. But I started to understand the problems that e-commerce store owners had. So I basically networked, I think it was around 2022 or 2023, I basically started networking with anyone who would talk to me in the e-commerce space in Ireland. Some of the big brands like Sculpted by Amy and e-commerce managers. I went up to an event in Belfast and kind of learning about the problems that e-commerce stores had. I then started to apply that to the problems I saw with my friends, myself, when we were buying online. And one of the biggest problems is that I saw that whenever my mate was buying off one of his favorite stores, ASOS, he couldn't reach the free shipping limit of €100. So what he would do is that he'd message me, he'd ask me if I wanted to hop in on the order, and I would send him what I wanted through a link or whatever. And then we realized like this behavior is super valuable to e-commerce stores because it can increase the size of the basket, meaning they get more money, and increase the conversion to checkout. But they weren't really taking advantage of this user behavior. So that's kind of what really inspired me to build CartShare. And CartShare is just a piece of software we sell to e-commerce stores on a monthly basis. We charge them on a monthly basis that allows anyone on their store to buy with their friends in just a few clicks.
Group buying has become quite popular already in China. So did that act also as an inspiration for the business?
100%. So although we saw the problem affecting Irish consumers and Irish e-commerce stores, the first thing we decided to do is like, okay, we need to do some research here. So we researched for group buying apps or group buying applications or group buying software, and immediately we saw Pinduoduo, a massive Chinese marketplace owned by Temu, and they already had group buying built into their platform, and it would basically allow anyone on the platform to agree to buy something at a certain price if enough people kind of joined on the order, all random people that you don't know. We thought like, okay, this kind of validates the concept. And then we started to look at who was trying to apply this concept to the Western world and Western e-commerce. And we saw that it wasn't being applied in the right way as well. So once we saw that, we kind of went, okay, people in the Western world want to be more individual. So give them the individuality of choice to go like, okay, I want to look across this variety of products on the store, and I'll agree to buy at the same time as my friend. Whether it versus in China, it was very much like, okay, we'll all agree to buy this specific product at this very specific time at this specific price. Once we saw that, and we knew that nobody else was doing it, we just kind of started building from there.
So talk to us about the range of benefits available to consumers by group buying.
Yeah, so there's two major benefits. One is reaching that free shipping threshold. So let's say you're about €10 away from that €100 to get free shipping. We know that 26% of shoppers online actually abandon their cart and don't purchase at all just because they can't reach that free shipping threshold. So the main benefit of CartShare is that you hop in on an order with your mate, you and your mates get free shipping because you buy together because you reach that €100 free shipping threshold, and it ships to you 2 addresses. The other benefit is discounts. So we offer merchants the ability to create discounts for people using CartShare. So let's say I hop in an order with my mate, we start adding more stuff to the cart. by adding, double the amount of valuable items into the cart, we can get discounts for adding more and more and more to incentivize that way. And the third incentive is that on a lot of the merchants that we're working with right now, the rewards points, there's a big incentive for the first user with their rewards points to go, hey, Johnny, do you want to hop in on my order and buy with me? And that first the person who first created the cart actually gets these reward points and doubles their reward points because their mate is hopping on the orders.
So what stage are you currently at with the development of CartShare, and what does the development roadmap look like?
We're a private installation. We work with around 4 or 5 e-commerce stores at the moment as test pilots. Some in the UK, one big one that we'll start working with in the United States, and another one in Australia. So CartShare is fully functioning. Right now, CartShare can ship to one address. So the main thing that we're working with at the moment is to build functionality so that it can ship to 2 addresses, meaning the number of people that CartShare can apply to is that not just your friend who lives down your road or your friend that you go to college with, but anyone you know in your peripheral friend group. That's kind of where you want to get CartShare at. So at the moment, around 5 or 6 e-commerce stores, CartShare is fully functioning, and we're aiming for a public release and public launch in around the first week of February to the middle of February, when we'll be on the Shopify App Store.
And at this stage, have you engaged with Retail Excellence Ireland and organisations like them overseas?
I actually have, yeah. So I actually spoke to one of the founders of Retail Excellence Ireland, and I've been to a few of their events. It's 2 very, very well-run events. So I've been in contact with them. They're obviously talking to organizations like that gives you a really nice access to lots of merchants really, really fast. And you start to understand, there's this merchant that might use CartShare, there's this merchant that might not. What are the benefits? What are the behaviors of consumers on different stores? So yeah, Retail Excellence Ireland is one of the organizations that we've reached out to. One of the main ways that we actually reach out to merchants and stores that we're selling to for ourselves is that we use agencies. So agencies, basically, let's say you want to start a really cool brand, but you have no idea how to set up an e-commerce store. You'll go to an agency, you pay them a lot of money, and they'll set it up all for you. So our main distribution method is definitely all these agencies around the UK, Ireland, and especially the United States. We've reached out to some other smaller organizations kind of in the UK, but our main strategy is agencies, because they're really the key to unlocking a lot of merchants really, really fast if CartShare really works for them.
And what revenue model will underpin CartShare?
Yeah, so the main revenue model that will underpin CartShare is 1, a monthly subscription, and 2, a very small fixed fee for every new customer we bring to that store that uses CartShare. So originally we were thinking of doing it by percentage, which we actually have. We have done a percentage model for all of our pilots so far. But the revenue model that we want to pursue is that, let's say you're an e-commerce store, you have like €1 million in revenue. And the biggest cost by far is the cost of acquisition for merchants. They spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of euros on Google Ads. And a lot of the time, they might spend 150 euros to acquire a new customer, and that customer won't even be cost positive for the first 3 or 4 months with their first purchase. So most e-commerce stores actually lose money on the very first purchase. So the way we want to come in is that we want to undercut Google Ads and say, hey, look, if we refer you 1 or 2 new people who join a CartShare and check out together, we want to take a very small fixed fee for each customer we refer you, along with a monthly fee, which is very standard for most e-commerce software applications that are sold to merchants.
Are you considering affiliation programs with any other apps?
Yeah, so we actually have been reached out to by quite a few apps that have talked to us about doing affiliation. So there's one really, really popular app called Store Hero. We don't have an affiliation with them yet, but I know the guys who run it, and it's great. And one really cool way to drive revenue, if you're a Shopify app or your software that's sold to merchants, is to kind of associate yourselves with other really successful apps in different niches. So some of the apps that we're looking at exploring to partner with that might be relevant to CartShare is apps that do split shipping fulfillment, apps that do dashboard and statistics for e-commerce stores as well. And the main thing you want to do there is you want to align other apps with your app that are kind of relevant to one another, not just random other things that it feels like merchants are just being advertised and sold to weirdly. So right now, we don't actually have any affiliations. We have been reached out to quite a bit by other apps, but we want to be very, very careful about who we associate with and also associate with people who are growing so we can go grow with them and they can grow with us as well as we expand CartShare and launch live.
And what is the growth potential for the business over the coming years?
So yeah, if you look at the growth curve of some really, really popular Shopify apps that have come out in the last few years, one of them is order editing, a hugely successful Shopify app. It was basically an app that allowed you to edit your order while the order was still in the warehouse, programmatically just through like a little form instead of having to email the store. They've gone from 10 merchants to nearly 1,500 merchants within the space of 2 years. Shopify apps like that just grow exponentially. Like you can go from like, depending on the niche you're in, if you really find a winner, you can go from like 10 merchants to 1,000 merchants really, really quickly. And that's why being on the Shopify platform is great, because it gives you a really wide access to merchants who might be doing 1 million revenue a year to merchants who are doing 100 million revenue a year. And the main driver of growth is that you want to put CartShare, you want to put order editing, you want to put any other app on these really, really high volume merchants, like the top 500 merchants. They're the ones you want to be on because your revenue can really scale in a way that you want it to. Shopify apps like Recharge or Bold, they've been acquired for billions of euros, and they're just selling software to e-commerce stores on the Shopify platform, and that's how they started. So there's a very, very high growth potential if we figure out where and what is driving CartShare's growth and how we can get it to scale in the way we want it to. So there is a lot of potential in the industry that we're in. It's just about how do we tap into it in the right way and make the right decision.
And finally, Liam, there's thousands of young people listen to this programme each week. So as one of the youngest entrepreneurs that has featured on Business Matters at just 17 years old, what is the greatest lesson that you've learned to date, and what advice have you got for those coming after you?
Yeah, so the biggest lesson is be very, very, very careful with who you decide to associate yourself with. You know, if you're young, one of the main things that you want to do is you want to find the right person to partner with, because most people who might be young and listening and want to start something, the likelihood of success goes up dramatically when you're working with someone else. Personally, I'm technical, but I'm not the most technical person in the world, so I need another person who can do a lot of the coding. I'm really good at the sales, I'm really good at the marketing, I'm okay at talking, but you want to find someone who you can work with well. And I think a mistake I've made is that I've routinely, I thought I've been, you know, you meet someone, you have a good impression of them, but you may not end up working well with them over a longer period of time, and your vision of the company could be misaligned. So you want to find someone who kind of fits these three characteristics, and you can't compromise on any of them. This would be like my main advice is, 1, they have to have a lot of integrity. 2, they have to have extreme amount of intelligence, like yourself, in whatever domain they're in. And 3, they have to be very intense, and they have to be super focused.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Liam Fuller from CartShare, and it's great to see the ambition of this 17-year-old entrepreneur coming to fruition.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.